So, I have a confession to make to you guys. I don't really like Sonic games all too much. Is it because of my childhood bias for plumbers? Is it because the batting average of Sonic games is not that great? Or is it because the fan projects blow everything Sega does out of the water every single time? Wait, what was the title of the video? Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers is a fan-made racing game released for PC earlier this year. Unless you're watching this in the past, in which it releases next year, you should be excited. Ring Racers is a pseudo-sequel to internet darling Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart, which is a spin-off of the fan game Sonic Robo Blast 2, and to simplify this next sentence down to a degree that works for the channel's name, all three of these games run on a modified version of the original Doom engine. Yep, the same engine that lets you blast through E1M1 also lets you play as the blue rat in a car. I played SRB2 Kart back when it came out, and I thought it was okay. I couldn't quite get into it like the rest of the internet did, but I respected it immensely. I love a lot of cartoony arcade racing games, from the Mario Kart series being the crown jewel of the genre, and Crash Team Racing being better than it, and I'm not even joking. I just didn't quite get what the hype was around SRB2 Kart though. It was alright. Nothing amazing, but maybe this was just me being stupid. Which is what my therapist agrees as being the case. When Ring Racers came out though, a lot of people who played it said it was bad because it was too hard, especially compared to SRB2 Kart. I took that as a challenge because, as I mentioned earlier, I have brain damage and think Crash Team Racing is a great game and I love how challenging it is. But I also had to keep my expectations low. SRB2 Kart was universally loved and I thought it was just good. So if Ring Racers was getting a lot of hate, what did I think of it? Read the title, I think it's one of the absolute best arcade racing games of all time. When you boot up the game for the first time, you're given this adorable little dialogue between Robotnik and Tails, which lets you adjust all the options to your liking. I saw so many people complaining about this portion of the game taking too long, but I don't know, man. It's really charming. It is really not that long. It can take all of like 5 minutes to just skip through all this dialogue, especially because you can skip it by holding down. And it's a PC game. Giving you easy ways to change all the settings is a good thing in my opinion. It's really not that bad, guys. Calm down. After that, you get a tutorial on the game itself, which doesn't take too long, and you can even skip the nitty-gritty after the basics are shown to you. Ring Racers is your standard kart racing affair, with rock-solid controls for the driving, item boxes which give you all sorts of goodies that you can figure out pretty easily, and multiple completely brand new and unique mechanics that I adore. First and foremost, the rings. The game is named after them. There's a shit ton of them on the courses, and you have a counter on your screen with how many rings you've collected, with it capping off at 20. These rings are vital for racing. Hit the item button when you don't have an item in your slot to use a few rings for a small speed boost. It's nothing substantial and certainly isn't a replacement to the regular speed boost items or floor panels, but this boost can help you up inclines faster, can help you correct course while drifting, and can even be used to maneuver in off-road sections a little easier. On the surface, this is just a nifty little pick-me-up during slow sections of the race, but it comes with some risk and reward. If you run out of rings and another player bumps into you, you'll spin out and your ring counter goes into the negatives. And when I say bumps into you, that means either an item hitting you or them physically hitting your car. You want to get your counter out of the negatives ASAP, because if you're unlucky enough to get down to negative 20 rings, the lightest breeze will... You also lose rings if you get hit by items or track hazards, so the rings become this fun risk-reward system, as you want to be using them constantly to keep ahead of the pack, but if you let yourself dip too low, you gotta be on red alert as someone might shoulder check you and it's all over. Now, you can mitigate some of this with the different kart classes, as having a heavier character makes you much less susceptible to having your rings knocked out of you when your kart decides to kiss another. Which lets me somewhat segue into the character select screen and engine classes. Everyone on the select screen is assigned a number where they are on the grid, with the grid representing their overall control and play. Left side is for acceleration, right side is for top speed, bottom for weight, and top for handling. closer to one side a character is, the better they are at that specific thing, ranging from super safe but kind of boring top left characters that have high acceleration and handling, to turbocharged anvils on wheels in the bottom right. Yeah, I typically play more towards the bottom right, as a heavyweight and high speed lets me barrel through other racers, but all the other engine types are still fun and balanced well enough that no matter who you are or how you like to kart, you'll have a character to gravitate to. Another one of the unique mechanics in this game I adore is the actual start to each race. Instead of revving your engine and trying to time it to the 3-second countdown, you instead move all around the course behind the starting line before it even starts. This is already a really cute feature to itself, but there's an actual gameplay benefit to doing this. As being the first to touch the starting line after the countdown, you get a massive speed boost for the beginning of the race. If you play right, you can use that initial speed boost to keep yourself ahead of everyone else for the entire race, making the aforementioned difficulty of the game a lot more manageable. There is a catch to this though, as touching the starting line before the countdown is finished earns you a fault, causing you to be pulled away from the race temporarily, which is usually long enough to let every single other racer who didn't get a fault get ahead of you. But another layer of risk reward is added on top of that, because since you can move around for a good bit before the race, you can bump your fellow racers into the starting line and give them a fault. The biggest drawback to this is that other racers are also going to try and do this to you. So you need to decide if you want to position yourself right behind the line so you can get that big speed boost as soon as you can, but risk getting knocked into it too early, or if you want to spend that time trying to push other racers into the line and risk not getting that really helpful speed boost. It's so many layers of risk and reward, all presented before the actual race begins. Speaking of actual races, I misled you slightly by implying it's a completely normal kart racer controls-wise, because there's a few tricks throughout the courses that give this game so much more personality, like the tricks. Yep, on certain courses you can activate tricks after touching specific objects on the maps, which require you to press a direction and the gas button right when these symbols line up for a boost in the direction you pick. And despite it seeming obvious that you'd always want a forwards boost, as it's a race, that's not always going to be viable in some of these courses, as you might activate the trick sideways or even, God forbid, from behind. There's also the E-brake, which lets you stop down your tracks for quick maneuvering. A variant of the E-brake you can perform in the air to quickly smash your kart down, which is super helpful for hitting speed panels after taking a ramp, and spin dashes, which can give you a great boost of speed at the cost of having to stop and charge it up. I didn't use the spin dashes all too often in the races themselves, but they are important for that pre-race startup, as the speed you get from the spin dash stacks with the speed boost you get from touching the starting line first, letting you rocket way ahead of everyone else. The controls, the risk, the reward, the constant ring management, all on top of the computer racers not slouching in the Grand Prix mode, leads me to not be surprised as to why so many players turned away from this game because of its difficulty, but I genuinely think they're missing out. The manual for the game itself says this is not a simple pick up and play experience, and that it takes some time to get a grip, and I fully agree with it because once you get it, you get it. Enough talk about the gameplay, let's talk about some of the connective tissue, like the general presentation. When I say this is the most authentic feeling fan game, I really mean it. In the nicest possible way I can word this, oftentimes fan games don't feel like the original creators could have made it. They usually have ideas that would never happen in the source games in a million years, for better or for worse. But if you told me Ring Racers was an official Sega product, I would believe you in a heartbeat. It has so much charm in its visual style and music, to the point it feels like a perfect companion piece to games like Sonic Mania. I know I said in the beginning I'm not the biggest Sonic fan, but even I can't ignore the genuine love and passion for the Sonic series that Mania has. All the tracks referencing so much of Sonic's history, the music being amazing homages, incorporating mechanics like rings and spin dashes into a racing game. It feels so Sonic. Not to mention the absolutely beefy amount of unlockable content. You get an entire board of challenges that works just like Smash Bros. Or Kirby's Air Ride, allowing you to unlock new tracks, characters, music, paints that can change your character's colors, and these little guys that follow your cart. Aw, how cute. The roster is pretty much perfect, with it going beyond just Sonic characters and including a large smattering of Sega properties, from Echo the Dolphin to to fucking Vector Man is here. One of the characters is unlocked by crashing your game with an error. What is this? The best unlock in the game by far is Addons. Despite the absolute gallons of polish and content that make up this game, don't forget, it's a PC fan game, meaning once you've unlocked add-ons by literally just doing one run of Grand Prix mode, you can add new characters and tracks created by other players by simply dragging and dropping files into a folder onto your computer. That alone takes a game that is absolutely bursting with content and things to do and multiplies it by infinite amounts. Now that alone got me intrigued, as I am of the opinion that game developers are scum and only the fans know what the fans want in the games, as evident by Minecraft, the most normal community around what fits in the game or not with mods. Totally. But when I found out it's actually really easy to make your own characters and the game even comes with a simple template and program, I had to create the ultimate racing roster of my dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the greatest racing lineup since Banjo Pilot. Myself, because I flip-flop between self-hatred and narcissism. Gino from Super Mario RPG. The TARDIS from Doctor Who, because I have a problem. Doom Guy and a Cacodemon, because I thought they'd look really funny but they actually kinda fit. The Wario apparition, so I could cross-promote with my Mario 64 video. That terrible looking Mario sprite from the Super Circuit beta because this game needed an Italian. And finally my mortal enemy, Urban Yeti on Game Boy Advance. I was already loving the game as is, but being able to put my own insanely stupid spin on the visuals was the cherry on top. All in all, Ring Racers is one of, if not the best arcade kart racing experiences I have ever had the pleasure of playing. Snappy controls, amazing gimmicks that give this game so much personality, gorgeous visuals even when they're being spat on by my shoddy mod work, and enough content to keep you busy for a very long time. Is it perfect? No, I think there are times the difficulty can be just a little too much, like the fucking Chaos Emerald sections. Fuck, if that made up a majority of the game, I would be singing a completely different tune, but so much of this game's fun and charm absolutely outshines the very few rough spots. It's a bit tough to learn, even tougher to get good at, and I wouldn't even say I've mastered it yet, but that difficulty curve leads to one of the most satisfying racing games out there. It's not going to be for everyone, but it is definitely for me. And I hope to see you out on the racetracks. But for now, I've got more rings to race and more videos to make, so I'll catch you in the next one that hopefully won't take 4 months to come out. I promise this video did not take up the whole 4 months since April. I just had a lot of trouble on picking a video and accidentally started 2 whole videos before unceremoniously scrapping both of them for later. But enough of prolonging the outro you already clicked off of. I'm out of here. Have a good one.